Welcome to A Shock in the Dark. I'm the narrator on a road trip around the United States following your true paranormal stories wherever they may take me. And this week I'm exactly 1 mile east of downtown Midland, Texas, in a rental cabin. The exact rental cabin that's the setting for tonight's true paranormal story, submitted by a listener named Buck. And it's creepy, and I'm no ghost hunter, so I'm a little bit nervous about sleeping here tonight, so let's get on with it. Here's tonight's letter from the Horseshoe Lodge on Highway 80 in Midland, Texas. Hello, A Shock in the Dark. You can call me by my nickname. It's Buck. I work rodeos, but my name doesn't have anything to do with that. It has more to do with money. That's a long story. Anyway, I grew up in the Houston, Texas area and never once experienced anything unexplained. And in fact, I never really paid attention to anybody who ever said they saw ghosts. Even if you did see a ghost, you wouldn't say that out loud in the circles I run in. You're liable to get a boot. Well, somewhere you don't want to get a boot. I'm a professional rodeo clown. These days, some people call themselves bullfighters, which is admittedly cooler than clown. And I've even heard people say they are rodeo protection athletes, which sounds just plain stupid to me. Sounds like a bunch of made-up horse manure, but to each his own. And this has nothing to do with anything, but I not only protect the riders, but I also entertain the crowd. So, rodeo clown it is. So a few years back, I was driving up from my home in Houston to a rodeo I was working in Albuquerque. I had been driving for about 8 hours and decided to find a place to have some shut-eye, and I could finish up the trip on the next day. I did search for cheaper places to stay and found an interesting-looking spot about 20 miles ahead in Midland, Texas. The Horseshoe Lodges. It's this little group of cabins on the side of the highway. They got a place to do laundry, RV hookups, and when I get there and get into my cabin, there's this big old pump jack just sucking oil out of the ground right behind my cabin. It's the weirdest place I ever stayed, but inside the cabin, all was well. They're small cabins, maybe about 40 by 40 feet, TV, bathroom, bed, basics. But I didn't get to enjoy the big screen TV. Driving wears me out. So I hit the lights and hit the hay and was out by 9 p.m. I was dead to the world when all of a sudden, there's this old man shouting right in my ear. "You're gonna die, boy!" I thought somebody had broken into the cabin. I popped right up ready to fight, but nobody was there. Man, I am telling you, my heart was pounding like a jackhammer. I jumped up, ran all around that cabin like a cornered jackrabbit, freaking out. Darting around, nothing but my undies, looking to find where this old guy went. I was wide awake now. It took me quite some time to calm down, check the lock on the door, and again, lay down. Yeah, I left the kitchen light on so I could see, but not enough so it would keep me awake, and eventually I fell back to sleep. Then, 3 o'clock in the morning, on the dot. "You're gonna die, boy!" I jumped up again, grabbed my big old heavy flashlight I had next to the bed, again ready to fight, and again, nobody there. By this time, I think it has to be something I ate, making these nightmares happen. I mean, I hadn't had a nightmare since I was in grade school, and now there's 2 in one night. I got another full day of driving the next day, so I've got to get some sleep. So I climbed back into that bed, ready to try again. And I'm laying there in that bed, on my back. I'm holding that flashlight on my chest, just in case I should need it again. I'm trying to slow down my heartbeat, doing some deep breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. My eyes are still open when I notice it's getting darker in the room. Now, the kitchen light is on, but it seems to be getting dimmer. And the light is white, but it's turning into more of a burnt orange color. And I can't tell if my eyes are going, or I'm starting to black out, or the room is actually getting dimmer. Then I can tell there's this dark mist moving around the room, kind of like all these superfine particles are suspended in the air, but they're moving in this mist. It's getting thicker. I tried turning on the flashlight, but it's got super bright for half a second and then burned out. It's about this time I can see this mist is taking on a shape. I can see a face in it. Sure enough, I'm telling you, this older guy, maybe 70 years old, skinny, wiry, but mean looking, and as more and more details come into focus, he's looking more and more like he's dead, like he's decaying. It looks like he's starved to death or something. His skin looked like it was thin as paper that had been stretched to its limit over his bones. He's wearing a wrinkled up suit, dark blue or black, and there's this dead flower in his lapel, like a rose or a tulip or something. I'm completely freaking out. This dude is like 5 feet away from me. I'm still frozen in the bed. Well, half in, half out, standing on one leg, the other leg still in the bed, and I'm just frozen in fear. That's when he kind of slowly starts drifting towards me. I am trying to get my legs to move, but they just won't. I can't even move my face, and this thing is still just slowly floating over to me, and the closer he gets, the more emotional I'm getting. Now, I'm just this side of being a sociopath. Nothing gets to me, man. I take it all in stride, but my eyes just started tearing up. And it's like somebody turned on a faucet, and I just have all these tears running down my face. And this old guy, he's getting right up in my face till he's seriously like 2 or 3 inches away, like nose to nose. He's kind of formed into what could almost pass for a real person now. What I mean is he looks solid. His eyes have been lowered this whole time, but now he lifts his head a bit and he opens his eyes, and it is real vulgar, man. His eyes are all cloudy, like the blue parts around his pupil had exploded or something. And then he opens his mouth, and his breath is ice cold, and it smells like rotted meat. And his mouth is opening wider and wider, unnaturally wide, and he just lets go of this ear-splitting scream. At this point, I just fell straight back onto and over the nightstand. I guess as I fell on the nightstand, it scooted a bit away from the wall, so I landed between the nightstand and the wall, my back on the ground, my legs sticking up in the air. I've really messed up my back. I can feel it. But still, I gotta fight off this monster, right? So I awkwardly jumped up as fast as I could. Heavy-duty flashlight in my hand, but the old dude is gone. I turn toward the kitchen, and I can see the last few remnants of those little tiny particles floating up into a crack between the wall and the ceiling in the kitchen. And it's done. All is quiet. I expect the neighbors and the manager of the property and maybe the police to come storming into the cabin at any second. I open the front door and there's nothing but the sound of crickets. and a train passing by across the highway. My back is so hurt at this point. I'm still freaking out and I haven't slept, and I'm certainly not going to sleep here tonight, so I made a decision right then. I threw all my stuff in the car, got a giant hot coffee at 7-Eleven, and booked it back to Houston. I never made the rodeo. Somebody filled in for me in Albuquerque. And I've told a few friends about my experience, and yeah, they think I'm crazy, but I know exactly what happened. I just don't have a lot of knowledge about ghosts and that sort of thing, so I have no idea what that was, and I would sure like to know what I did to anger it. And finally, and this has been a few years back, so I'm not really worried about it for now, but I did worry for quite some time and would still be curious to know, is this something that has the capability of following you home? Well, thanks, Buck. I'm in that exact cabin right now, and so far so good. Let me knock wood. I've already had one experience on this trip, and that is plenty for me. So, man, I'm kind of nervous about being here tonight, but in spite of that, the Shock in the Dark tour of the United States will continue, and I'll go wherever your letters take me. Next week, it looks like I'm heading to Sweetwater, Texas. And then, maybe it'll be where you are. If you want to support this channel, you want to support free entertainment, please do the right thing. Just, do one of these. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, or write some words in that little section down there where you're supposed to write words. In the meantime, this is the narrator. I'll talk to you next week. Till then, good night, wherever and whoever you are.